This is For My Sons, a space where we equip men to lead themselves, their families, and their communities with strength and wisdom. I'm your host, Papa O, a father, a husband, a son, and a student of life. Here, we dive into all the topics that shape the development of men. Lessons, stories, and principles you can use to strengthen your family and impact your community. If you're passionate about becoming a better man, building a better family, and leaving a better world, you're in the right place. Let's jump into today's conversation. Today we talk about something that will determine the man you become. More than talent, more than luck, and more than almost anything else. And that is self-discipline. But before we dive in, as always, let's start with some wisdom for Yoruba land. Ọ̀nà kan ṣoṣo ni ọmọ aráyé fi ń ṣe rere, kò ní ìbànújẹ́ tí kò rà. And that translates as, there is only one true way to live rightly, to avoid regret that you brought upon yourself. And what this proverb reminds us is that so much of our pain, our regret, is avoidable. If we had just stayed the course, if we had just said no when temptation whispered yes, if we had held the line. Self-discipline is a shield that protects you from self-inflicted pain. So what is self-discipline? Well, according to Merriam-Webster, the definition of self-discipline is the correction or regulation of oneself for the sake of improvement. Self-discipline is doing what must be done, especially when you don't feel like doing it. It's waking up when your alarm goes off, not when you feel ready. It's holding your tongue when you're angry, not lashing out. It's saying no to what you want now so you can say yes to what you want most. Discipline isn't about punishment, it's about alignment. It's about choosing actions that honor the man you're becoming. Discipline is the bridge between intention and impact. Why is self-discipline so rare? Well, I can give you 5 reasons. Number 1, we're addicted to comfort. Most people would much rather be entertained than elevated. See, your brain is fantastic at finding the most expedient way to do things, the easiest way to do things. So as such, you're going to be staying as comfortable as possible for as long as possible. And if most people are wired to just accept comfort as opposed to going for the more uncomfortable route, then of course, everybody's just going to be entertained by what happens around them instead of trying to push themselves to be greater. Number 2, we live for dopamine. We're in an age where the most important currency or the most sought after currency isn't actually money, it's attention. Every single time we scroll through our phones, the whole doom scrolling, we snack, we spend money, we just repeat that cycle over and over and over again. And every single time that happens, we get these small dopamine hits that just make us feel good for long enough until the next hit, until the next buzz. And that's a problem, especially when it comes to the disciplined man. Number 3, it feels lonely. Discipline isn't glamorous. It's early mornings, it's skipped parties, it's quiet effort, it's not taking that last bite of a donut, or not having one more drink, or not having any drink at all, to be honest, or just reducing the number of drink you have. Okay, we'll say that for a different time. It is doing things that you are compelled to do, not just because you want to, because you know you have to get them done. So a good example that I already mentioned is the early mornings. Early mornings you need to get up, be it for work, be it for the gym. Me personally, I like to go to the gym in the morning, so of course I need to be up. And there are mornings where it is not comfortable. Most mornings actually, it's not comfortable. But I'm compelled to do it because I'm looking really at the long-term gain. Right? Those early mornings when you're on your own. No cameras, no spotlight, nobody high-fiving you, nobody patting your back. It is lonely. But it's just something you're going to have to get comfortable with. It is the discomfort that you're going to have to get comfortable with. Number 4, no role models. Right? Many boys grow up with commands and not consistency. And that is mean to say, it is a do as I say, not as I do. And that's a problem. Because a lot of the time, children grow up, especially boys, but children in general, when they grow up, they don't grow up by what you say, they grow up by what you model. If you have the system set up and they see that system running, in terms of getting up in the morning, being productive as soon as the day starts, then they will in turn follow that without question, because that's what they're seeing. So there are no role models. And number 5, fear of failure. Discipline forces you to face your own limits, and that scares people. Again, we already identified in number 1 that it's not met at the comfort zone. People don't want to leave their comfort zone. So of course, if you're pushing yourself all the time, it is scary. And it's more scary because of the fear of the unknown. Even though you're driving for a result, you still don't know whether you're going to get that result. And that does scare a lot of people. So people would much rather be like, you know what? Bun it. Let's just not do it. It's easier that way. Can't be bothered. Right? But here's the thing. Without self-discipline, a man becomes a slave to his mood, his lust, his laziness, and his fears. And that's a man that can be easily ruled by anybody and anything. Be it a woman, be it their work, be it their emotions. If there is no self-discipline in the life of a man, it's always going to end up bad. See, self-discipline isn't just a good habit. It's a war tactic, a daily battle, a conscious rebellion against comfort, softness, distraction, and mediocrity. Most men today are losing this war without even realizing they're in one. They wake up reactive, they scroll for hours, they speak without thinking, they eat without restraint, they follow the crowd. And by the time they realize it, they've traded their greatness for comfort, legacy for laziness, impact for impulse. But, my sons, we were not born to be average. We were born to be great. There's no such thing as the average leader. A great man is a leader. And that's who I hope I'm talking to in this podcast. Now, let me tell you something that you won't hear in motivational quotes. Discipline is not soft. It's not gentle. It's strategic. Niccolo Machiavelli once said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Now, why does that matter? Because a man who is disciplined, who has dominion over himself, will be respected, even feared, because others know he cannot be manipulated. He doesn't chase pleasure. He doesn't beg for validation. He doesn't move at the mercy of his moods. He moves like a man with a mission. Cold when necessary. Clear always. A man who cannot rule himself will never rule his time, his family, his finances, or his destiny. This is not about being emotionless. It's about being undistracted, about being focused. It's about being hard enough to be useful, but soft enough to be trusted. Now, there are some real-world implications to self-discipline, right? Now, if you look at areas of your life, you look at your relationships, you look at your finances, your health, your mental clarity, and your reputation, there are examples, good examples, as to why self-discipline is important. Now, when it comes to your relationships, self-discipline is about choosing patience over reaction. It's being consistent, emotionally present, and protective. Do you really think it's that easy to wake up in the morning and go, you know what, I'm just going to be self-disciplined? No, 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 no. It's a skill, especially in relationships. And the reason why I can say that is because I think I've been with my wife for over 15 years. And that period of time, you had to build up the skill to not lash out. That's discipline. And by lash out, I mean in a reactive manner. Early on in the relationship, when we were having arguments, as couples do, couples have arguments, I would be reactive to what my wife was saying, as opposed to showing some restraint, being more patient in my responses, because I didn't want to say something that would have lasting negative effects. You might think in the heat of the moment that it's a good idea to, say something wild. Well, there's tomorrow, and the day after, and the week after, and the month after, if that's the person you're with. Right? It takes discipline to exert patience over reaction. Then you've got your finances. Right? Budgeting, delayed gratification, saying no to the now for the yes of tomorrow. Something that's interesting about finances is that I understand that, the cost of living has gone up in life in the modern society. But there are a lot of unnecessary purchases that people make, that we all make, that if you look back on it and go, probably should have held back on that one, you'll find it's there. Budgeting is boring. Yes. But if you have a goal that you're aiming for, if you have a target that you're reaching for, then budgeting is necessary. But that takes discipline to be able to put that into action. Delayed gratification. Now, I'm not talking... We're talking about big purchases in particular. Of course, yes, we can count the pennies. Yes. But again, living in the real world here, having, buying something that's £5 as opposed to buying something that is £250, there's going to be a big difference in terms of what's gratifying and what's not. Delaying gratification, especially when you're making large impulse purchases, is a form of self-discipline. Again, a skill that needs to be trained, because at the beginning, especially when we're growing up as children, for those of us that might not necessarily have the right role model or enough role models in the area of finance, because I believe in all areas of life, you need a role model to, model after, or else you're just going to be figuring it out on your own. As I was saying, when it comes to finances, impulse buys. I remember, what did I do? That was dumb. I spent money on trainers. I must have spent, and this is because these are impulse buys. I spent money on trainers. What were they? It was back in the day, it was like Adidas Stan Smiths. Yeah, they were good. I mean, they look good. Spent a lot of money on them. Spent money on tracksuits as well at the same time. Just crazy impulse buys. When really I could have spent that money on learning how to drive. Right? If I'd actually thought about it, if I'd actually sat down with myself and said, well, wait a minute. These might look good now, but how long are they going to last? The Stan Smiths, I bought how many pairs? 1, 2, 3 pairs. My days. Oh, my days. Yeah, I bought 3 pairs. 3 pairs of Stan Smiths, 2 tracksuits. I can't remember how much it equaled to. I'm pretty sure it was it? It was between, and this is outrageous, right? I'm saying this now. This is outrageous. You want to judge me? Judge me later. Fine. I think I must have spent about $1,000. Because I got because they were limited edition as well, I think, as well. It's something pointless. Right? And this is at the age of 18. Right? Impulse decisions, impulse purchases that don't benefit you in the long run. There was no way I was going to be a fashion model. Mainly because I'm just some any guy. When it comes to looks, most certainly just some any guy. So I was just making these expensive purchases for what? At the time, I'm sure it made me feel good. At the time, I'm sure, I'd been like, oh yeah, no, these look clean. This is great. But looking back on that, I was like, I've absolutely curtailed. I learned how to drive at 27 as a result. Could have learned at 18. And of course, driving is a lifelong skill. So delayed gratification is extremely important when it comes to your finances. If you're saving for a house, if you're saving for, even if it's something, say it's arbitrary, it's not arbitrary, but even if you're saving for a holiday, you are going to need to work on your self-discipline in order to achieve that, or else you're going to be distracted by any and every new frilly thing that comes in your eyesight. Your health, training when you're tired, eating for fuel, sleeping on purpose, those all take self-discipline. Those are real-world examples of self-discipline. Okay? Training is not meant to be easy. Any training that's easy is not training. It's a waste of time. You know that and I know that. Because the whole point of training is that you're either maintaining what you have, which requires a certain level of effort, or you're looking to supersede yourself, improve yourself to be better than what you are today. Meaning that you need to push yourself past the point of comfort to a point where you are going to tire yourself out, because it's going to require more effort to get to the goal that you're looking for. Right? Eating for fuel instead of eating for pleasure. This is one, and I'm not afraid to say it, this is one that I struggle with. I love food. Absolutely love my food. And unfortunately, my waistline can also testify to that as well. It is something that, as I said previously in this podcast, it is a battle. It's a daily battle. And now I'm trying to fight to win. So because I'm fighting to win, the way that I'm eating now is changing. But it won't just be for today. It'll be tomorrow. It'll be the next day. It'll be in 3 weeks' time when things get a bit boring. But the goal is clear. I'm eating for fuel, not for pleasure. Now, that's not to say you can't do that. Again, there's the whole Pareto's law about the whole 80-20 thing. If you're eating well 80% of the time, and then 20% of the time you're not eating as well, then that's fine. That's going to be a lot better than eating terribly 80% of the time and only eating well 20% of the time. Right? Sleeping on purpose. Gentlemen, whoever told you that sleep is for the weak is an idiot. Or that sleep is overrated is also an idiot. I'll say it flat out. Sleep is so important. The reset it has on your body. What your body is doing in the middle of the night. The way that your body needs sleep is absolutely insane. There are more than enough studies out there to show the importance of sleep. You don't get enough sleep, even if you sleep regularly, like 5 hours a night, well, on a very regular basis, I promise you there'll be problems with your blood pressure. Your eating habits will go out the window. If you're looking to lose fat, that's dead, right? Because the amount of cortisol that's in your system, cortisol, aka the stress hormone, is going to be doing a bad number on your body. That fat is going nowhere. So you're going to be putting all that effort, getting tired to what? Let it all go because of sleep? Improve your sleep. I can operate on, 6 hours a night and I'll be completely fine. I'm sure you can. But that doesn't mean that's the best thing for your body. Take a look into it, at least for yourself anyway. Take a look into your sleep. A lot of the time it's something, especially if you're training to lose fat, and I use that example because that's exactly what I'm doing. Training might be great. Eating might be fine. If the sleep is horrendous, for whatever the reason may be, it's going to kill all the gains that I've made in the training and the eating anyway. So you might as well get it done properly. Okay, set a bedtime. Right, and I know that sounds ridiculous because the last time you've probably heard about, you have a bedtime was when you were a child. Well, there's a reason why we send our children to bed early. Why they have a set bedtime. Right, their body is going through so many changes as they're growing that it needs to sleep to be able to recover. It needs to sleep to be able to grow. Most of the growing is actually done when you're sleeping. Most of your recovery is done when you're sleeping after training. So make sure you're sleeping on purpose. Mental clarity is another one. Quieting your mind, replacing chaos with structure, governing your thoughts. Again, I'll say it again. Self-discipline is a skill. It is something that is done daily. Meaning to say there are going to be some times where you're going to have some intrusive thoughts. You should probably quell those. Right? I'm not talking like the psychotic ones. No, man. I'm talking about things where you catch yourself saying something that you feel is normally out of pocket for yourself. That negative chat. And I'm talking about yourself, about your worldview. Those are the sort of thoughts you need to be like, not today. I'm on a purpose. I've got a greater goal than where I am at the moment. I've got a greater destination that I'm striving for than where I'm at the moment. I don't want to tend my thoughts to those sort of areas. There is a lot of news that I purposely do not read. Not the fact that I don't know current affairs, but there is a lot of news out there that I don't read. I don't absorb at all. And I feel tons better for it. Will I read about sports? Absolutely. But there are a lot of current affairs. There's a lot of news that I don't read up on. And I choose to read the news as opposed to watching it simply because I have better control over it that way. I can focus my mind. Things are a lot clearer to me, which is why I'm talking about mental clarity in this aspect. Because when you get out of the habit of always watching the news and letting it hijack your emotions, you tend to find that you can actually think a lot better. Your decision making gets a lot better because you've got more energy for it, because you're not having to go, wow, that was so depressing having watched X, Y, and Z that I wasn't prepared for. Yeah. And the last one is reputation and respect. Discipline earns quiet power. People might not say it, but they see it. right? Now, in a previous episode, I've spoken about the importance of respect. One aspect of it was what? Appraisal respect. If you haven't listened to it, I would highly recommend you go back to the episodes to watch it or to listen to it. Now, especially as men, we're judged by our actions way more. Way, way more than women are. I know everyone is judging their actions, but I'm speaking from, I guess, an accountability point of view. We are judged very much on our actions. You don't need to announce to the world that you're doing something. Just start doing it. There'll be someone that will pick up on it at some point if you're consistent enough. And that's where the discipline comes into play. It might be something as simple as, oh, mate, I've seen you've been at the gym for like the last couple of weeks. Good going. Walk off. That can happen. That has happened. Right? And that's a level of respect that you want. That's how you acquire the power you need to continue striving forward through self-discipline. Now, one thing you have to understand is that to the outside world, self-discipline looks like obsession. And it may look extreme. But the thing is that if you set a goal for yourself, people don't see what you're building. They don't see your mission. They see control. But you're the one that's feeling peace. They see rules, but you're the one that's seeing results. Obsession to them is clarity to you. Because you're so focused on your goals. And you've put in a system of self-discipline into place. And I say the system because it is not, again, when we're talking about feelings here and we're talking about emotions, yes, they're fleeting. There are going to be some days you're going to wake up, you're not going to be as motivated to do anything. But you still get it done. Why? Because you've got a system in place. How did you get to that system? Well, you did it consistently every day to a point where it became a habit. But then that in itself is the self-discipline that we're talking about here. Okay? Why does self-discipline matter for men so much? Well, without self-discipline, a man is ruled by his urges. With it, he becomes the governor of his life. Discipline makes a man safe, strong, reliable, and respected. A disciplined man becomes a man that others can rely on, and more importantly, a man who can rely on himself. As always, I've got some practical suggestions I guess you can take away for the week, and here are the 3. Number 1, name your enemy. Identify where mediocrity is winning in your life. Number 2, set a daily non-negotiable. One act of discipline you must complete every day. And number 3, track the war. Use a journal or a chart or, whatever you use to, track what you're doing. Mark your streak. Make the progress visible. Here are my final thoughts. In this life, we are on a battlefield. And I'll rephrase it a bit better. Life is a battlefield. And discipline is your sword. Every day you are at war with something. The voice that tells you to sleep in. The craving that wants to break your diet. The impulse to snap at someone you love. The temptation to quit when it gets uncomfortable. You can't afford to be casual. You can't afford to be neutral. You must be at war with mediocrity every single day. Because mediocrity is patient. It waits for your weakness. It grows in your comfort. It thrives in your excuses. But discipline? Discipline is your declaration that you will not be average. that you will not pass down weakness to your sons, that your name and your legacy means something. So choose to fight. Fight for clarity. Fight for control. Fight for your future. Because discipline, my sons, is not just about habits. It is the foundation of power. And the world will always respect the man who masters himself first. Thank you for joining me today on For My Sons. I hope today's message challenged you, encouraged you, or gave you something worth passing down. If you found value in this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss a new letter, a new lesson, or a new legacy moment. Until next time, be a communications CEO. Communicate clearly, communicate early, and communicate often. This is Papa O, and I am out.